Yes! Oh, it is. It is a Monday episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We are streaming live with you each and every weekday, noon until 1 p.m. Welcome aboard to those watching us live and already chatting with us live. I love how the first comment right out of the gates from my guy JP, where is Royal A. Shepherd? He's not joining today, but he will be on later this week, I promise. Royal is a weekly fixture on this show. He is one of my absolute favorites. We have a couple of my other absolute favorites joining the show today. As you can see from the hat that I'm wearing, I am bullish on this Monday. I'm bullish on Bitcoin, which I think is a little under 50K right now, but has crossed over the 50K mark over the past 24 hours for the first time in 3 months. So that is a beautiful thing. I am bullish on Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins after a very clean preseason performance on Saturday. We're going to talk with Alfredo Arteaga at around 12:40 to break down some Dolphins. We are going to talk some Miami Heat with another show favorite. Alana Tahaur from Clutch Corner is going to join us at 12:15 today. We're going to give out a couple of bets. Hello, Cap for Life. And speaking of bets, we're going to introduce a daily feature later on in the show. But guys, this show is proudly brought to you by our good friends at BetUS. Bet with the 3-decade leader, BetUS. Join now for a 125% sign-up bonus or even a 200% bonus if you deposit crypto, like the hat I'm wearing. Use some Bitcoin, baby. So you get a 125% bonus if you sign up with a credit card, or 200% bonus with crypto if you sign up with our code. And guys, it's so easy. BetUS.com. Create your account. Make your deposit with our code 5RSN125. That's 5RSN125. Those of you watching, you can see it right there on the screen. If you're listening, hear the sound of my voice, 5RSN125. You can bet sports, casino, horses, pop culture, and more at BetUS.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS. We are also served by the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Oh, you know I love that food, my friends. The seafood is so fresh. It's right out of the ocean. The oysters, the Maine lobster. I love the sushi. I love to build my own poke bowl. The cocktails will cure your ails, and the beer is always cold. And guys, hot tip, make the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill your spot to watch every UFC pay-per-view fight with zero cover charge. You pay absolutely nothing at the door to watch a UFC pay-per-view at the Quarterdeck. The food is so good. If you want to peep the menu before you go and also find the location nearest to you, visit their website, quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. So I've already said hello to JP and Cap for Life. Hello to Brooklyn Rob. Brooklyn Rob, crypto bro. Now, Rob, you guys in the chat, be nice to Brooklyn Rob, because you see he's rocking the Juventus avatar. And Juventus, they found a way to choke and piss away a 2-0 lead yesterday against Udinese. They drew 2-2. Rob, I don't know what happened, bro. Not a very good start to the year for Juve. So everyone be really nice to my guy, Brooklyn Rob. Now, I'm a fan of rival club to Brooklyn Rob. I'm an Inter Milan fan, so he and I are going to banter back and forth all season long, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But, guys, I want to start things off. He says, first game, relax. I'll tell you when to relax, Brooklyn Rob. Should have had 3 points easily against Udinese. I am so high on the Miami Dolphins, and I know it's preseason, but it was a clean preseason performance. The offensive line looked considerably better than they did against the Chicago Bears, which partly is to be expected because the Bears have a more formidable defensive front. And yes, the Atlanta Falcons rested a lot of starters. Atlanta seems to be kind of sticking with the protocol of using the third preseason game as the dress rehearsal, even though there's only 3 preseason games this year. They only played 5 out of their 22 listed starters on their depth chart, whereas the Dolphins, outside of like half the wide receivers being injured, gave you a better look at what their starting lineup is going to be come regular season time. And it brings up an interesting question. I saw a tweet from my guy Ken Levica from ESPN West Palm on how the Dolphins might approach preseason game number 3 coming up. Do we need to see any of the Dolphins starters in the final preseason game on Sunday? That's Sunday in Cincinnati. He says, I'm torn because, well, no, but 2 weeks between the final preseason game and the opener is a long time. I'm not that torn. I'm going to say no. And part of the reason why I'm so confident in saying no, I don't want to see any, if not maybe. Now there might be a handful that Coach Flo thinks, like if you get any of those injured wide receivers back, maybe he'll want to throw a couple of those guys in there, some of your better players who have missed the first two preseason games. But I don't need to see Tua. I don't need to see Jalen Waddle, especially after that injury scare that he had. Thankfully, he was fine. And that shows you that prayer works, okay? Because when Jalen Waddle looked like he rolled up his knee and appeared to be in a lot of pain, I was praying to every God out there. I was praying to the God of every religion. All of my prayers were answered because not only was Waddle fine, but he actually came back into the game in the very next series. I think Malcolm Perry had an injury scare later in the game, and he was okay as well. So after seeing that and just how the margins of health in preseason go, I don't need to see any of the regular Dolphins starters in the third preseason game because the Dolphins clearly, to me, they approached preseason game 2 like the dress rehearsal. I mean, Tua played the entire half, guys. He only played one series into the second quarter in the opener against Chicago. Against Atlanta, Tua played an entire half of football, and he played very well, so I've seen enough. And the fact that execution-wise, the first teamers smoked Atlanta, and everyone I thought looked great. You want to end it on a high note. You remember George Costanza in Seinfeld? You got to know when to leave the room. Like you got to, even if it's in the middle of a meeting, you tell a funny joke, you've got the room. That's when you walk out. I think for the Dolphins in preseason, it's the same thing. Leave the starters on a high note. I don't need to see any more injury scares. I don't need to see Jalen Waddle or Tua Tagovailoa out there for preseason game number 3. I think you consider the second game to be the dress rehearsal and let the final preseason game be about the fringe guys. Let it be about 54 through 90 on the roster to let these guys battle for their spots on the team. The Dolphins have like 15 wide receivers on the depth chart. Let some of the fringe guys, assuming that we have some back healthy next week, battle it out for their spots. So Tua Tagovailoa for the entire game, well, for the half that he played, I should say, 16 for 23, 183 yards, and a touchdown thrown. The first quarter was especially excellent for Tua, 8 for 8 for 78 yards. And according to Brett Breckheisen from Media Relations in the Miami Dolphins, tweeted this out. He is the only NFL player this preseason to have a 100% completion percentage and at least 5 pass attempts in the first quarter of a game. So that was a sharp start for Tua. It wasn't completely perfect, guys, because when he tries to throw it deep down the sidelines, he had a couple of slightly underthrown balls, so it wasn't 100% perfect. But I'll tell you what I really loved about Tua, where you're seeing the maturity in his game, on the touchdown pass that he threw to Myles Gaskin, the way he was able to step up and elude the pressure and feel the pocket, that's veteran stuff. And you're seeing comfort from Tua in the pocket that you were not seeing from him last season as a rookie. I see Ninja Viking. Welcome into the chat, sir. Tua scared the hell out of me, too. Going down head first is not the way. Yeah, I was watching the television broadcast, and even Jason Taylor was kind of freaking out. Like, I don't know if you do that in preseason when Tua was picking up yards with his feet. And instead of doing the little quarterback slide thing, he actually went head first into a tackle. And yeah, we all held our collective breath there for a couple of minutes, guys. We all held our breath there for a little bit. So I think, obviously Tua is going to keep practicing between now and the first regular season game, which is September 12th against New England. But I don't need to see him again in the preseason. I've seen enough. And I really thought that Tua was sharp and excellent on Saturday. And he's sharp despite the fact that you had 6 wide receivers on the injury inactive list, including guys like Devontae Parker and Albert Wilson and Preston Williams, who on paper should be big-time important weapons for Tua in the regular season. By the way, I loved in the first quarter, the first drive, Tua was targeting Jalen Waddle a lot. And Jalen Waddle even had a carry on a jet sweep. So you're going to see him used as a weapon in a number of different ways. In addition to just catching passes, you're going to see Jalen Waddle's legs become weapons as well in this regular season. But no, I think that the way that Tua has stepped up, no matter how many different wide receivers he's had to throw to, I mean, he's turned a guy like Mac Hollins, who is having an excellent training camp and an excellent preseason. Like, he's making you realize Mac Hollins is a weapon in the National Football League. And Mac Hollins is going to make this team. I think this guy is making himself indispensable with the way that he's playing. So Miami has some big questions with the roster. And we're going to talk about this again later on. I want to get the expert opinion of Alfredo Arteaga from our Miami Dolphins coverage here on 5 Reasons Sports. He's one of the hosts of 3 Yards Per Carry, which is an excellent podcast. And shout out to the 5 Reasons Network. I mean, we have had excellent material all over the website, recaps of that second preseason game, all sorts of training camp updates. Your one-stop Dolphin shop, man, and no paywall or anything if you go to 5reasonsports.com. So, and I like Brooklyn Rob's comment. People are still crapping on Tua because Atlanta had starters out. The hate is real and it's misplaced. I feel like it's been a little quieter, though, the hate on Tua. And I get it, Brooklyn Rob. There are some people that aren't giving Tua a lot of credit. Like, I have given Tua a ton of credit over the first 10 minutes of this show today, and I think he deserves it. He looks so much more comfortable than he did a year ago as a rookie. I did, though, this morning, because I did my due diligence for this show. I combed the timeline of notorious Tua hater Colin Cowherd, and all weekend, he didn't tweet once about Tua. How convenient is that? Tua actually has, and by the way, I thought for what it's worth, Tua was fine in the first preseason game as well. He just threw that one bad interception, and people acted like that was the only throw he made all game. So they overreacted to the interception, didn't react to anything else. And you remember last week, Colin Cowherd could not stop talking about Tua and how bad he was, and he's going after Tua fans. So then the following Saturday, Tua had a really good game. No interceptions thrown, 8 for 8 in the first quarter, an excellent completion percentage, very efficient. Cowherd is nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found, guys. I looked through his timeline all weekend, and he was tweeting mostly about pro wrestling, because I guess he went to SummerSlam, but he didn't take the time to review any of Tua's plays and see what Tua did. Crickets from Cowherd. You're right, Ray, and welcome into the chat, Ray. So, yeah, you notice the haters have gotten very quiet. They seem to be focusing on other things because when Tua has a good game, they're silent. And that bothers me. Look, it's the inconsistency in the way that Tua Tagovailoa is covered. That's what bothers me, because if you're going to attack him for any time he makes a poor throw or a poor decision, don't you also need to give the guy credit when he puts in a gem of a performance? Like, how come people only accentuate the bad and they completely ignore the good? Now, we're going to have some questions on the wide receiving core. I'm going to get the expert opinion from Alfredo Artiaga on this a little bit later on. And Ethan Skolnick had tweeted last night, hey, if the Dolphins keep 5 receivers, who do you think they keep? I think they're going to have to keep 6 on the regular roster just because there's too much depth there. I think they have to keep 6. And they're going to be able to protect a couple of guys on the practice squad as well. That's kind of a dangerous game, though, because they have to clear waivers if you move them around. But I think the Dolphins are going to keep 6 wide receivers. And here is my prediction. It's really easy 1 through 5, and then coming up with the 6 gets really tough. The guys who are absolutely not going anywhere, Devontae Parker, 100% safe. Jalen Waddle, 100% safe. Will Fuller, he just acquired, completely safe. Albert Wilson, I think, has played himself safe with the good training camp he's had. Mac Hollins, I think, has played himself safe because he has been a baller. So that's 5 right there. Number 6 is where you're going to have some differing opinions, I think. Jakeem Grant, I think, is going to make this team. And a lot of it has to do with just what a weapon he is as a return man. If you were to get rid of Jakeem Grant, then you'd probably give more returning reps to Jalen Waddle, and I don't necessarily want that. I mean, I'm okay with him being an option there, but not a regular guy. I think Jakeem Grant is going to make this team, guys. So that's my 6 right there. But then you're wondering, there's a couple of names that people will argue about. So that would tell me that people like Preston Williams. My problem with Williams is potential, great. The guy's hurt all the time. He's a mummy. He's a walking injury. So Preston Williams, Lynn Bowden, Kirk Merritt, who I like, but unfortunately he'll probably be a practice squad guy. Alan Hearns, who's injured, so maybe you stash him on the IR. Malcolm Perry, maybe you can sneak him in as a running back because he can fit that role as well. And Isaiah Ford, I think, are all at risk. So we'll circle back to this topic. I want to bring in our very good friend to talk a little Miami Heat. She is fresh off celebrating a birthday week from Clutch Corner. Allana Tahaur joins us here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Now, Sean, flash up this tweet because I want to make sure that Allana is achieving her goal for today. Allana, you had tweeted out after a big birthday week, today's goal, sweat out last week's excessive wine and sugar intake. Have you been successful on that? I know it's still early yet, and you're an hour behind us in Chicago. So has this day been a success for you?
You know what? I was going to come in here and tell you that you've got me fresh off a workout, a council meeting, and a night out last night. So you got me in rare form. I did sweat out a good amount of the damage that I did last week, but there's more to come. But it was a great week, so I can't really complain.
That's awesome. And happy belated again. I hope you had a wonderful bunch of birthday celebrations. And we got some interesting Heat stuff to talk about, Allana. Now, the Heat miss out on DeJon Jarreau, who unfortunately gets, before they can give him a two-way, he gets swept up by the Indiana Pacers. Was this a surprise to you? And how much of a disappointment is this? Because obviously this is a guy that would not have necessarily been a big-time rotation guy, but could have helped this team.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I hate that it had to be the Pacers. I'm very vocal about this. I hate the state of Indiana. I'm so sorry. It's like an 18-minute drive from me, if not less. It's just the worst. There's nothing good that comes of Indiana. I can't stand the Pacers, so that sucked. I was a little surprised. I don't think it's going to be detrimental. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. But I did like how he was looking, and I thought he could be a Heat guy. So I was surprised that happened, but there's always a method to the madness. So I have to think that's something they saw that coming, or at least they had a backup plan.
Have we locked up Marcus Garrett yet? Because I don't want anyone else to get sniped here.
I don't think so, but I think that would be the next best thing. So again, I'm not sure if it's more of they're looking to fill a certain position or it's just something else that we're not seeing. But I think that when the Heat miss out on players, people get all wrapped up in stuff. But at the end of the day, to your point, it's not going to be a rotation player. There are voids that can be filled other ways. So it had to be the Pacers.
Now, what is honestly, and I know, like you said, you live 18 minutes away from the state of Indiana. I've never been there. And it sounds like I'm lucky to have never stepped foot in that state. But like, what's so bad about it? Like, I don't really care. I hate the Pacers. Like, there are other sports teams I'm indifferent about, but I hate the Indiana Pacers. Like, what is it about Indiana that's so bad? Is it just a boring ass state?
There's nothing to really do over there. I will say, I used to be with a D3 men's basketball team, and there's a tournament or something, and I went with them. Indianapolis was not too bad. Our hotel was pretty nice. There were some okay kind of sports bars in the area, but just as a whole, I don't know. There's just nothing that comes from it good from Indiana. Traffic is always a mess with people trying to come in and out of Chicago. I will say gas is much cheaper there. So when I do venture out, I always fill up because Chicago gas prices are a joke. But there doesn't seem to be much to love. And to your point, the Pacers suck. So that's a reason enough for me to dislike the state.
I love that. Now, I was chatting with you a little bit before the show. I go through part of my morning routine when I'm looking up Heat news. Of course, I hit up 5reasonsports.com to see what's going there. And my guy Brady Hawk is always in the lab writing 10, 15 stories per day. He's crazy. He doesn't sleep, this guy. I check out the local papers, and then I usually comb, the Heat page on Bleacher Report because they aggregate a bunch of stuff, right?
Yep.
But they do some of their own material as well. And I'm looking through Bleacher Report posted this piece over the weekend where they identified the most underrated player from every NBA team. And I went through to see who they identified as the Miami Heat's most underrated player. And Allana, this is just lazy. So according to Bleacher Report, Kyle Lowry is the Heat's most underrated player. Kyle Lowry, I mean, everybody knows Kyle Lowry. I thought they could have gotten a Dwayne Dedman or something. They reached for Kyle Lowry. I thought that was odd.
Yeah. I had not seen that until you messaged me about it, and I couldn't believe lazy. I don't even think covers that's not the right word for that. That has to be satire or something that we're missing in that article. Because that makes no sense. I think that I mean, aside from maybe Bam and Jimmy, that would be the last person I would name. So I don't know what happened there, but they need to do better.
Now, if you were going to identify the most underrated player on the Miami Heat, maybe you go with, like Welch says, you hate Duncan Robinson.
No.
Maybe you want to make amends and go with Duncan.
This is an awful narrative, and I blame Michael for this. I had once called Duncan one-dimensional. I'm glad that I was wrong. I never said I hated the guy. I was actually thinking about this question, though, after you messaged me, and I think I kind of have two answers. I think currently is completely different than, overall. James Johnson came to mind when you first messaged me. I don't think people appreciated him enough. I think culturally he was part of the reason that our identity of these like kind of down and dirty dogs not only began, but I think kind of like progressed over the years. And I think on court, he was not valued as highly as he should have been. But it's funny you say Dedmon, because Dedmon was going to be my answer. The guy came in, slotted himself on court, off the court, right into the team. There was chemistry right away. He fit the culture. He was all in. And I don't think people understand like how crucial that was, especially with what we were dealing with, to come in, back up Bam, and just fit in as well as he did. And he's a Leo, so I have to pick him. It's a no-brainer over here.
I love it. By the way, Ninja Viking casts a vote for Max Strus. And and honestly, that's not a terrible answer, because the Heat heads, like, those of us who follow the team day in and day out, we all know Max Strus, but I'm guessing like the casual NBA fan, that's not a name that's at the tip of your tongue. So yeah, I could totally see Strus becoming someone who's going to pop on everyone's radar. Oh, there, Adam Barai says we still see that birthday glow. How about that?
I mean, like I said, last night was a late night, so we're still carrying it over a little bit. I don't know if it's glow or what, but I'll take it.
By the way, is there a story behind, and wasn't Adam the one who like completely changed his Twitter @ was that him? And I even like, I mentioned, I DM'd him and I'm like, why are you, or no, I didn't DM him. I replied to it like, why are you trying to confuse people? I wasn't even 100% sure it was Adam. He's like Boston Adam now on Twitter.
Yeah, it was a terrible decision. I said this offline as well as I replied to that tweet. I don't know what he's doing, but he's got some stuff to figure out, it seems. I don't know.
Like, I've got these pet peeves on Twitter, Alana, where like if somebody, you better be someone I really respect and like if you want me to keep following you when you change your @. And Barai, he's awesome, so he falls into that category. Like, I will keep following him even though this annoys me to no end. But when people change their @, it drives me crazy. And when
it's funny because it like Ethan keeps calling that his burner, but I'm not sure Ethan understands what a burner account is, because that's certainly not one. It's just a second account. But I'm hoping that name is not too long lived. I feel like it's time to change back.
Yeah, it is. So when people change their @, it annoys me. And also, and I know this has to happen sometimes because it's like a driver's license. Like, you can't keep an old picture forever.
Yeah.
But people who change their Avi really often, it drives me crazy. Like, you have to change it every few years because like you look different, fine. But if you change your Avi like once a month, then what happens is when you pop into my timeline, I don't know who you are. And I'm like, why is this person all over my timeline? So like I try to keep an Avi for like 3 years, 4 years before I change it. I don't want to be one of those people. So all right, well
I used to be the girl who changes it seasonally,
really?
But then that just got too tiring, and I didn't want to keep taking like seasonal photos. So we're just sticking with what we have. But I mean, it is a good point. You don't want to be catfishing people.
Oh man. Well, and at least like you're up in Chicago, you actually have seasons there. Like I have no reason to change. It's summer. That's true. Summer.
That's true. I could never live anywhere without seasons. It's too near and dear to my heart.
Oh, totally. So something I wanted to ask you about general Miami Heat roster construction, right? Because I love what the Heat have done in free agency and the trades and the transactions that they've made. But everything is going through this old school Pat Riley lens of defense. And you kind of feel like they're rebuilding like the late 90s team. Is that too much, Alana, in today's NBA? Like, are you worried about, obviously the Heat have scorers, but are you worried about where the consistent scoring is going to come from when their closing lineup seems to be very, very defensive? How do you feel about the way the roster is being constructed?
I understand, people being a little bit concerned about that in today's day and age, because obviously the game is changing. I think for me, I'm actually fine with it only because that's been the Heat's identity for so long. And I've said this before, I feel like over the past few years, we've kind of lost who we were. I know we were kind of going through a shift of personnel. There was guys coming in and out of the roster. There was a mix of the youngins and then some vets. But I think if we're going to stick to who we are and we need to be like true to that, I really do think that it is being a defensive powerhouse. Obviously, we need shooters. People like Duncan and Max Strus will take care of that. Hopefully Bam's offensive game steps up a little bit too. And we have Jimmy and obviously now Lowry as well. But I'm not as concerned as a lot of people because I think they know what to do with a defensive heavy team, even if the game is changing. So I think as long as we stay true to who we are and kind of build upon that, I don't think we're going to have a problem.
By the way, did you trip out a little bit when you see that Ray Allen is now a high school coach? Like the only thing that annoyed me, Alana, is the team that he's coaching was like a rival of my high school down here. So I'm like, it had to be Gulliver Prep. He had to go there. Like I can only imagine like what it must be like for a high school kid. And that's a private school. So there's going to be some recruiting that's happening, whether it's technically allowed or not. But what it would be like to step on the court and be like, Ray Allen is my head basketball coach. Like I would be like a kid in a candy store.
No, that's so dope. I'm really happy for him. I love when players just continue on. I know not everyone wants to coach and, some guys just go on to do different things in a completely different industry than anything sports related. But he's too brilliant of a basketball mind to give that up. So super happy for him. I know nothing about the school being obviously from Chicago. But I loved that announcement.
Yeah, basically they kicked my school's ass in everything. Like I went to a moderately priced private school, and Gulliver is like a very high. So they were more expensive than my school, better academics than my school. Like I played on my school's soccer team, Westminster Christian, and we were just average. And when we played against Gulliver, I swear to God, all of their players were and keep in mind I'm in 10th grade, and all of their players are 6'2" from Brazil. Like they don't even speak English. I'm like, where do these guys come from? It's like they're speaking to each other in Portuguese. I'm trying to talk to them in English. They don't understand me. It's like, where are they getting these ringers from? They had Pelés 1 through 11. I'm not sure, honestly, if their basketball team was good because at my school, Westminster, we actually had a pretty good basketball team.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how Gulliver stacked up in that, but I'm sure now.
Well, they're about to be better now.
They're going to be shooting threes from half court and draining everything. Oh my God. Oh, and by the way, I love this comment from Ninja Viking. With Ray Allen at Gulliver, that means Kevin Garnett is probably going to come and coach at Westminster Christian High School.
This feud is it's so ridiculous to me. I am not a KG fan. I never have been. So I'm obviously automatically going to side with whatever he's not a fan of. But it's just like, how long are we going to do this?
Do you think it's bordering on shtick at this point? Do you think in real life, he's like, you know what? I don't want to be this petty, but I'm kind of having fun doing this social media thing.
I think if it was anyone else, I would believe that. But no, I just think this is how he is. And he's going to hold this grudge until the day he dies. I don't know. He just seems like someone where if you cross them once, that's it. There's just no going back. And he's just going to keep riding this wave. I think it's making him look ridiculous, but I don't think he cares at this point. So here we are.
Did you see Uncut Gems?
I did not.
He was actually not bad at that movie. It was basically a movie. Adam Sandler was beyond degenerate sports gambler, and KG's in the movie. He was actually pretty good. So I watched that. I'm like, you know what? I still don't like the guy, but he's a better actor than LeBron James.
I was about to say, I'm guessing he was better than LeBron, and that you're taking solace in that fact.
No doubt about that. Alana Tahaur does an awesome job here on 5 Reasons Sports and on Clutch Corner. Alana, before we let you go, let the people know when they can see you and hear you again on the network. You have anything planned this week?
Yeah, so Michael and I are actually recording Feel the Heat tonight. A new episode will drop tomorrow. I think we had plans of going for Clutch Corner on Thursday, but don't quote me on that because Boston Adam is in the process of moving. So we'll see if that happens. But you can always catch us all on Twitter.
Boston Adam. It's so annoying. Alana, don't change that Twitter handle. It's perfect just the
Never
way it is.
that.
Just her name. Make sure you follow her. For those watching, you see it on the screen. Allana Tachauer is what it is if you don't. Alana, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Great stuff there by Allana Tachauer. Hey, in about 10 minutes, we're going to be joined talk some Miami Dolphins with Alfredo Arteaga. Yeah, I want to throw some love to the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. I put up a Donno Daily food poll today. Sean, if you can flash that for me, because I wanted to get a definitive answer on this. Blue cheese versus ranch, if I can speak correctly. They have excellent chicken wings at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. So this is the Donno Daily food poll. Oh, do me a favor, Sean, if you can vote on that real quick, or I'll give you the results here. I have them. Donno Daily food poll served by, and I'm watching how you vote, sir. I'm watching to make sure you do. The suspense is killing me. The suspense. Okay. Click. Oh, he did it right. Thank God. It's blue cheese, man. Blue cheese or ranch for chicken wings. Blue cheese has a too narrow of a lead here for my taste, 53% to 47%. You know, one of the people who commented on this tweet said it absolutely perfectly. With the results of this poll, you're going to find out who the adults are and who the children are who vote on this. Because if you put ranch on your chicken wings, you have the taste of an 8-year-old if you're not literally an 8-year-old. Like, if you're a grown-up, blue cheese, I know there's chunks in it, but you're not 7 anymore. It tastes great. It's got the perfect amount of bite from the blue cheese. I mean, if I'm at some, low-rent sports bar and they only have ranch for whatever reason, I can live with it. But when you're at a magnificent spot like the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill, they will offer blue cheese with your chicken wings. So that is the way to go. I'm surprised the gap is so narrow right now in blue cheese versus ranch. It's very insulting. Oh, Cap for life. This is not a terrible answer, man. If the wings are really good, he says with hot sauce. At first I thought he said without sauce. Like if the wings are really good and they're perfectly done, like if you get some nice like Parmesan garlic wings, you don't necessarily need to dip them in blue cheese. But obviously hot sauce is great. And I'm a man's man, so I like my hot sauce incredibly spicy. In about 8 minutes, we're going to talk Miami Dolphins with Alfredo Arteaga from 3 yards per carry. I opened up the show talking about the offense. Myles Gaskin, very good, scored 2 touchdowns. Tua Tagovailoa, very efficient. Jalen Waddle was active. Thank God he's not injured because we had a scare after that first drive. Defensively, how about the day that Sam Eguavoen had? I mean, my guy, he had just missed some time on the COVID list. He comes off the COVID list, and he was beasting and feasting in the second half of that game. Sam Eguavoen, 11 tackles and 4 sacks, and one of those sacks was for a safety. And I saw something like from the Elias Sports Bureau. I can imagine the geeks that run Elias Sports Bureau, because they have to know, like, at the top of their head every stat and when something is broken. Like that was the most prolific Dolphins preseason performance since 2002 when Adewale Ogunleye, you remember him? I love that dude. Adewale Ogunleye had 4 sacks in a preseason game back in 2002. So this is the first time in 19 years any Miami Dolphins defender has had 4 sacks in a preseason game. So he is in rare company there with Adewale Ogunleye. So congratulations to Sam Eguavoen, who was awesome, and he was terrorizing the backfield there of the Atlanta Falcons. That was really good. Oh, my God. So, guys, I'm going to start doing a daily feature here on Donno Daily, because we encourage everyone, throughout football season that's coming up, right? You're going to have Miami Hurricanes opening up the college season September 4th. Miami Dolphins will open up the regular season September 12th. I have been betting NFL preseason. Predictably, I've not been doing very well because preseason is tough. I mean, when you're getting, who knows, 1 quarter, 2 quarters, no quarters out of some of the starters. A lot of quarterbacks haven't been playing. It's a bit of a crapshoot, but we're going to be all in during the regular season. But I wanted to start giving you guys courtesy of betus.com. And I encourage everyone to play along and bet along on America's favorite sports book. I'm going to give you guys a couple of my sports bets that I have placed and I'm going with today if you want to bet along with me. And of course, make sure you sign up at betus.com and use our promo code 5RSN125. If you use our code 5RSN125, you get a 125% sign up bonus. I signed up with my code about 3 weeks ago, and poof, I deposited $150 through a credit card. and they gave me $187.50 of free play money on top of my $150. Like magic, it appeared in my account, and I was playing with that free play money for like a week and a half. It was fantastic. So here are the wagers that I am placing today. Both of these are international soccer, and they're both in the afternoon. So get on to betus.com, use our promo code, and do not waste any time, my friends. So you've got a 2 o'clock game in Spain and a 2:45 p.m. game in Italy that I'm looking at placing wagers on today. At 2 p.m. in La Liga, a lot of value here with Sevilla being just a half-goal favorite against Getafe. Yes, Sevilla, they're on the road, which does matter, but they've won the last 4 meetings in that fixture, and they're off to a better start to the year, and Sevilla are a better team than Getafe. So I think being favored by just a half a goal is a lot of value there. So for 2 p.m. today, Sevilla over Getafe in La Liga, and then 2:45 p.m., we have some afternoon Serie A. And believe it or not, guys, even though I'm an Inter supporter, I will be betting on their crosstown rivals. I've already placed the bet, in fact. AC Milan, they're just a half-goal favorite against Sampdoria. They are on the road, but they are by far the better team than Samp. I think just being favored by a half a goal, again, a lot of value there. They're the more talented team on paper. So I've got AC Milan minus half a goal and Sevilla over Getafe. So Sevilla and AC Milan minus half a goal each. Sevilla plays at 2 o'clock, so you have a little over an hour to get that one in. And AC Milan plays at 2:45, so you have almost a little over 2 hours, I should say, to get that one in. Those are the plays for today. If you guys want to bet along with me, some international soccer today, courtesy of betus.com. Real quick, we're going to bring in Alfredo Arteaga in a moment. I spent a lot of time watching preseason week 2 in the NFL, and I'm looking at the other AFC East teams. Very nice to see my guy Greg Russo out of Miami continuing to do very well with Buffalo. He got a sack the opening preseason week against Cleveland, got another sack this past week. He's looking really good. I'm looking at the quarterbacks as well. Now, Josh Allen is going to be the starter in Buffalo. He's not playing, so don't pay him any mind. He's going to be elite. But I got to admit, I was watching the Jets against the Packers, and Zach Wilson looks really good. Now, again, rookie, preseason, I'm not going to overreact. Like, I'm not going to anoint Zach Wilson the same way that I hate people that downplay Tua anytime he makes a mistake. But Wilson, I thought, looked very comfortable. You saw the arm strength. You saw his ability to throw on the move, which was one of his strengths at BYU. And he had a very efficient day, 9 for 11 for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then this past Thursday night, I was watching the New England Patriots steamroll the Philadelphia Eagles. And, both Cam Newton and Mac Jones look really good. And it's only a matter of time before Mac Jones takes over there. He went 13 for 19 for 146 yards. Dolphins play the Patriots week 1. Belichick will probably go with Newton to open up the season, but I think at some point it's going to be kind of similar to what happened last year with Fitzpatrick and Tua. I think at some point Belichick is going to give Newton the hook and replace him with Mac Jones. And I think Cam is going to be on a very short leash. Newton struggled last year, injury troubles, and he had COVID, and he just couldn't throw the football accurately last season. So if Cam Newton has any semblance of the struggles from last year starting the season, I think Belichick is going to waste no time giving him the hook and giving Mac Jones the nod. But I thought Jones looked good last Thursday, and I thought Zach Wilson looked good on Saturday. And, I was watching Wilson especially closely because I remember I brought this up on the show a couple of weeks ago. Some very articulate caller on WFAN New York was already declaring Wilson a bust, right? Because he doesn't like his mother's Instagram page, and he thinks Wilson, just didn't face anybody at BYU, which is kind of true. And he had a rough first couple of days of training camp practice, so he was declaring Wilson a bust. For what it's worth, Wilson, I thought, played very well against the Green Bay Packers on Saturday. All right, we go out to the guest line and bring in show favorites, network favorite. This guy does an awesome job on 3 yards per carry. One of our Miami Dolphins experts here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Alfredo Arteaga joins us now here on Donno Daily. Alf, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Great. Absolutely great.
By the way, did you get a chance to watch Mac Jones and Zach Wilson over the weekend? And what do you think, especially about Wilson? Because I didn't watch him as much as some of the other drafted quarterbacks because of the whole BYU thing. I know he's a guy that was labeled having a lot of bust potential, and people think the New York market will chew him up and spit him out. He's got the crazy mom, but I thought he actually played really well against Green Bay.
Yeah. Zach Wilson was absolutely spectacular. He was fabulous this past week, and I thought he was really, really good against the Giants the first week. Mac Jones is a little bit different story. You could just tell he's so limited physically. And I understand some people are going to try to get at me on Twitter and say, oh, but isn't Tua limited physically? No, he's not.
No.
Tua Tagovailoa was, I remind everybody, and people seem to forget who Tua Tagovailoa actually is. He was a 5-star recruit out of Hawaii. He was the number 1 dual threat quarterback in the nation. So they recognize some physical ability in him. Mac Jones just doesn't have the physical tools that a Tua Tagovailoa has. So, his limitations show up, but he's also played very, very well. His game is a little bit more cerebral, and he could be an efficient quarterback. Now, I think his physical limitations would keep him from becoming a star. But Zach Wilson, so far, arrow up, and sky's the limit for him.
But Alf, I can remember a certain quarterback out of Michigan about 2 decades ago who had physical limitations, and then he winds up playing for Bill Belichick, and that one worked out okay. So maybe it'll end up being the same for Mac Jones.
Well, the good thing is that Bill Belichick will not coach until he's 120. So
we hope.
You got to figure Bill Belichick is not for long. He likes fishing on Jimmy Johnson's boat too much. I think the clock is ticking. If Bill Belichick is around the NFL, not on Earth, I don't wish him anything bad to happen to him. But if he's in the NFL in 5 years, I would be surprised. I think he's not for long in this league.
I love our Tua fans like JP are shot out of a cannon today. How funny. A lot of the people praising Tua now were saying he was a limited quarterback that doesn't look like an elite quarterback based on 9 games last year. I have noticed, Alf, that the timeline of Colin Cowherd has been pretty quiet on the Tua front the last couple of days. Like, I guess he went to SummerSlam. He's only been tweeting about pro wrestling. He's conveniently left Tua off the timeline after Tua had a very good performance.
I love days like this because most Dolphin fans, and I do it too, I'll admit it, I start tuning into everywhere. First Take, Get Up, Colin Cowherd's show, anybody who talks anything. And it's eerily quiet. It's as if the Dolphins did not play a game on Saturday. So we shall see. There's still time. There's still 5 days. There's 5 days in the week. There's a lot of content they got to put out. So we'll see if they say anything about his performance on Saturday. But, so far it's been pretty quiet.
Yeah, and at the top of the show, I mentioned Tua's numbers on Saturday: 16 for 23, 183 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions this time around. He was very efficient. He had a couple of underthrows on long balls, but he was darn near perfect on the day. How did you grade out his performance, Alf? Because I also thought Tua did very well kind of stepping into the pocket and eluding pressure. Like, I really enjoyed what he did on Saturday. How did you feel about it?
I thought he was damn near perfect. Even one of the incompletions was on a wheel route to Salvon Ahmed. Rewatch that play, because as you watch it, it looks like, okay, he just overthrew Salvon Ahmed. He threw him toward the sideline. If you watch the rear view of that play, if you watch it from the end zone view, he gives him plenty of space to make the catch. It's just a difficult catch. Salvon Ahmed is not a 6'4", 200-pound wide receiver. He's not Devontae Parker. But he gave him every opportunity to make that catch down the sideline. The Waddle throw is really the only one on 3rd down, which looked to me like, okay, that wasn't an optimal throw. Or it was on 2nd down. It wasn't a good throw. It looked like he got too excited for Jalen Waddle being wide open, and he short-armed it. But other than that, he was perfect. It was as good a performance as you can have under those circumstances.
Now, it seems like different teams are kind of approaching their preseason strategy differently now with only 3 games, because it sounds like the Atlanta Falcons, who rested a lot of guys the 2nd week, are going to play more guys the 3rd week. I wonder if the Dolphins are doing the opposite, Alf. And I know Flo keeps everything close to the vest, but Tua played an entire half And the starters got a lot of work, which that second game had the dress rehearsal feel to me. If you're Brian Flores, do you play any starters in this final preseason game against Cincy, or do you kind of treat it the way we used to treat the fourth preseason game?
Yeah, I would use this week to make a lot of decisions on guys that will be counted on in week 1 in Foxborough, and just sit those guys. Just don't play them. So I wouldn't expect people like Jerome Baker, Christian Wilkins, neither corner, Eric Rowe, Raekwon Davis, Zach Sealer. I think this is a game where you go really, really, really deep into your second and third team and just play them and write them out. Even if you have to play them long minutes, play them. As far as the only guys that they're going to count on that I would give a lot of playing time to, I think this is a game where you play Jalen Phillips, wire to wire. Play him at the buck linebacker spot. Play him at the buck linebacker spot and say, guess what? You're playing the Bengals for 60 minutes on Sunday. Javon Holland should be starting at free safety. He should play, 50, 60 snaps at least. So those are guys I would like to see. But on the offensive end, decide who are your guys on the offensive line. Maybe play Liam Eichenberg extended snaps to see what you get from him. But this is a game where you start Jacoby Brissett, tell Tua to put on a headset and listen to the play calls, and that's it.
How did you feel about the offensive line overall against this past week against Atlanta? Because obviously I thought they were a lot better. They faced a more formidable pass rush against Chicago. So how much of it was the competition level? How much of it was on the personnel getting better?
Yeah, I thought they were much, much better. And I think that online, especially on Twitter, I think people are expecting either perfection or dominance, and you're just not going to get that.
No.
And if you look across the league, it's an epidemic, really. Bad offensive line play is the norm in the NFL. It's just like any team in the NFL. And this is from the best offensive line to the worst. They lose one guy on that offensive line, they're scrambling to replace them. Because if you watch preseason football, that's where you can tell if teams are actually deep on the offensive line or not. If you watch preseason football, Dolphins' second team actually looks kind of decent. If you compare it to other teams out there when they start shuffling in their second team offensive linemen. So you're really talking about a handful, less than 5 offensive lines in the NFL that you could point to and say that is a great unit. Other than that, you're really striving to be average or above average. And I think they accomplished that. I'm not saying that that's a great accomplishment. That's not a great accomplishment. That's not something to pat your back over. But if they're above average, that means that this team is going to be pretty good, in my opinion.
That sounds like me in school. Strive to be average, right? If I can get enough B minuses to keep my parents off my back when my report card came out, that was usually my goal.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. If this offensive line, the Dolphin offensive line, is dominant this year, then we should be talking about winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because every other component on the team is well above average, I think. And getting better, meaning Tua is getting better. The running game looks a little bit better. So, yeah, you can't have everything. And evidently one thing they can't have is a dominant offensive line.
Now, let me ask you the $1 million question of the day. For whenever the 53-man roster has to be done, how many wide receivers will we keep and which ones? Now, Alf, my estimate I put out there is 6, and 1 through 5 for me were not that difficult. Once you start going beyond that, it gets very difficult. And I'll also get you in on how we can kind of maybe manipulate the practice squad a little bit. But Devontae Parker, unquestionably safe. Jalen Waddle, safe. Will Fuller, safe. I believe Albert Wilson has played himself safe in camp, as has Mac Hollins. I think you've got to keep him. And then when I take a stab at the 6th spot, I draw Jakeem Grant's name out of the hat. So those are the 6 that I came up with. And then that would even be leaving out a guy like Preston Williams. It's leaving out Lynn Bowden, Kirk Merritt, who's like the hardest working man ever. I'm sure he'll end up on the practice squad. Albert Hearns, maybe they can stash him on the injury list. Maybe they can have Malcolm Perry listed as a running back. I'm leaving out Isaiah Ford. How many and who do you think makes the roster?
Yeah, your list is probably where I would end up with. I would end up with 6. And then I try to sneak on a 7th by just calling him what he should be, which is running back 4, and that's Malcolm Perry.
Yeah.
So he would be my fourth running back. He's an emergency running back, emergency quarterback, but you can't use him in the passing game as a running back. You can't throw him the ball, and he's going to make plays. Preston Williams and Lynn Bowden, they're good players. When they play, they've actually produced in this league. So I wonder, what their future holds. And maybe a trade is on the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you could see that comment down below from JP Max, he says, our fringe wide receivers are too talented and valuable to cut. We need to package them for a trade, in my opinion. Well, what do you think that would get the Dolphins? Like late round draft picks we're probably talking here?
Yeah, because teams are not dumb. They're not stupid. They know that you probably have to cut these guys eventually. So, they're not going to offer you premium. Like the only guy that will get them a premium pick are the obvious ones, which are the top three guys. But they're not going to trade any of those top three guys, meaning Waddle, Parker, or Fuller. Like those are the valuable guys. Like you get a lot for any one of those three guys. And Waddle is not going to get traded. He was just drafted.
Right.
And you're not gonna get a return on a guy you spent the 6th overall pick on, right? But if you look at the rest of the wide receivers, Isaiah Ford is a guy that, and I was arguing with Louis D. Sung, and he said, I think that's a guy that you could pass off through waivers onto the practice squad. And I reminded him last year they traded him to the New England Patriots for a 7th round pick. So if Isaiah Ford was valuable enough that the Patriots traded a pick for him last year, then he's valuable enough that if you expose him to the waiver wire, he'll end up on a roster immediately. And I think the same thing for the rest of these guys. Like, I don't see a guy, maybe Kyle Loxley, but even he has physical traits that teams are going to like, and they'll pick him up and try to put him on their practice squads. I think the Dolphins are going to have a pretty difficult time trying to stash guys on their practice squad from this wide receiver group because it's really, really good. And Kirk Merritt, he's kind of hot right now, right?
Yeah, he is.
He had a really good week of practice, and he had a great preseason game. And people are always going to remember that he had great combine numbers. So whoever doesn't have like all the film on him, some general manager somewhere is going to say, look, the Dolphins just cut this guy. Look at his combine numbers, and he was kind of good in preseason. Yeah, pick him up and see if he could round out the bottom of our roster. So, yeah, it's going to be a very interesting cut down on the 31st, I believe. Yeah, it's the 31st at 4 p.m. They got to get down from 80 to 53.
How prolific of a season do you think Tua is going to have? I don't have the tweet in front of me, but Ethan put out a Twitter poll earlier to estimate how many yards he's going to throw for. The top choice was over 4,000. Then 3,500, between 3,500 and 4,000. I think that's what I voted for, somewhere between that, 3,000 to 3,500. How many passing yards do you expect Tua? Now, he does have a lot more talent at wide receiver this year. How prolific will he be?
Well, I think people are shortchanging him. I saw some comments on that poll saying, 3,500. No, I don't think so. Think about it. If he has a monster season, let's say he averages, Dolphin record, by the way, is 305 yards per game by Dan Marino in 1984. That got him 5,084 yards. Remember, there's an extra game this year.
That's right. Yeah, good point.
Okay, there's an extra game this year. All right. So if Tua has a monster game and averages somewhere around 280 yards a game, forget 300 yards a game, because if he averages 300 yards a game, he's going to throw for 5,100 yards, right? Mm-hmm. That's my math right there, my quick math. But if he's somewhere around 260 to 280, he's in the 4,500 range. And I think that's where you don't expect it, but, don't be surprised if that's where he ends up. Because this offense seems like it's going to be powered behind what they do with their passing game.
Yeah, no, fair point. Last thing on the way out, when you're eating chicken wings, ranch or blue cheese?
Blue cheese.
Amen.
I'm a grown man with a mortgage and a child. Yeah, I don't use ranch. You know what's really underrated? What? Really, really underrated, and I've learned to love this. I don't like my wings very plain. I know a lot of people like those lemon pepper wings. Mm-hmm. They're not spicy enough. They're not spicy enough for me. But if you get some barbecue sauce with some sriracha in it,
ooh, yeah,
and dip the lemon wings in it, absolutely.
Okay.
Great combination.
You're right about that because, Alf, I'm such a man's man. There's so much testosterone coursing through my body. I love spicy food, but I also love lemon pepper. And you're absolutely correct that the one problem with lemon pepper is it doesn't burn your mouth enough. Like I want to impress my friends when I'm eating wings when they can't eat it and I can. So yeah, being able to dip that in like some sriracha barbecue, that does sound like a life hack.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. Wings should be hot and they should be accompanied by blue cheese, not ranch. Ranch belongs on salad, not on your wings.
By the way, I don't know if there's a backstory to this or if he just genuinely is curious, but Simba of Sports wants to know, is there a secret rub for, I'm assuming he means rub, not run. What is the secret rub for your ribs? I mean, it's a secret, so why I don't know why he wants me to
well, he should know because I kind of gave it away to him and he just didn't remember. But yeah, it's about 8 spices, all equal parts, and I can't reveal them here.
Right, because it's a secret.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, fair enough. Well, Alfredo Arteaga, this man does such an awesome job. Make sure you follow him on Twitter and make sure you check out his work on 3 yards per carry, producing awesome content. And it's only building up, man. The crescendo is in progress. Preseason is almost over. A few weeks we'll have regular season games, and 3 yards per carry will be to the moon by that point. Alf, thank you so much for taking the time, my friend. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome job, Alf. Indeed, getting the compliments in the live chat. Before we wrap it up, I want to throw out some shout outs to everybody in there. JP Max has been very active. We appreciate you, sir. Simba of Sports, Ninja Viking, Us Mecca. I like that name. Use. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Ninja Viking, Scott, Cap for Life is a mainstay. We love him. Chris Adams has popped in as well. Eddie in Miami. Adam Barai, who's now Boston Adam on Twitter. You got to stop changing that handle, bro. Welch. Let me see. Anybody else we have not gotten to? Zachary Elaine. Thank you, sir. Brooklyn Rob, my guy. Even though he's a Juventino, I still love Brooklyn Rob. AKW Beats for hopping in. David. Ray Grullon, another show favorite. This guy's an absolute staple. JP, I think we mentioned. So I think that covers everybody who's popped in on the live chat today. Thank you so much, guys. And make sure when you're in, if you haven't already, you smash that like button. Just smash the like button here on Donno Daily. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, 5 Reasons Sports. I know you guys are subscribing because I see the count going up and up and up. I think when I first started doing these live, and I'm not even taking credit for it because it's been busy Heat free agency and stuff and Dolphins. I'm not even taking the credit for the subscriber count, but I'm saying it's growing so quickly because I think when I first started doing Donno Dailies, we're at like 12.5K and we're at like 13.3, 13.4, something like that now. So the subscriber count is growing. The family is growing here on 5 Reasons Sports. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and you smash the like button and partake in the live chat each and every day because we have an awesome time chatting with everybody. Huge thanks to Alfredo Arteaga breaking down the Miami Dolphins with us. Big thanks and shout out to the belated birthday girl, Allana Tahaur, the first lady of 5 Reasons Sports, for talking some Heat with us. Huge shout out in the back to Sean Stanley and to Manny Chang for running the show and doing great things. Remember, if you guys want to bet along with me today with betus.com, and people always ask me, where do I go to place wagers? I know sometimes if you don't know, where to find an online sports book, it can be a little bit intimidating if you've never done it before. I can remember when I first got into it, I was a little bit intimidated. Just go to betus.com. They are America's favorite sports book. They proudly endorse this show, and I proudly endorse them, man. Go to betus.com, sign up, create your account, and sign up with our code because we have a deal for you. 5RSN125. Use our code 5RSN125 when you make your deposit. You can deposit with credit card. You can deposit with crypto. If you want to get that Bitcoin going to the moon, if you deposit with credit card, you get a 125% sign-up bonus of free play money. If you deposit with crypto, you get a 200% sign-up bonus. And the games we're betting today, you have time to get these in, guys, when you sign up. You should be able to get your account created with plenty of time to spare. We have Sevilla over Getafe. Sevilla favored by half a goal, 2 p.m. in La Liga and 2:45 in Italian Serie A. We have AC Milan minus a half a goal, favored by half a goal over Sampdoria. And I say that even though that's the crosstown rivals for the team I root for. So I must be feeling good about that bet. So bet along with us today. We'll have a couple more picks coming up tomorrow. Huge shout out to everybody. We will talk to you again tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 12 noon on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Another episode of Donno Daily. Ciao.